Hey, yo, sound man, I can't hear myself in the monitors, man. Can you turn me up? Can you give me some more vocals on my monitors? No, not those monitors, like these monitors right here in front of me right here. Yeah, I can't hear myself, man. Has that ever happened to you? Yo, I'm gonna make sure that never, ever happens to you again. Watch this video. Raise your hand if that's happened to you before. It's a common thing. When you're out here trying to make it as a musician, when you're on stage performing, especially when you're a vocalist, trying to hear yourself in a monitor mix once everybody in the band is actually playing, it never really goes the way it should go. I mean, you're talking about situations where, starting off, you have literally one board, that's the front of the house board, and they're kind of running like a monitor mix, an auxiliary mix to different monitors onto the stage. But usually, after a sound check, it just does not go well. Or it's just loud as hell because, you know, for whatever reason, the drummer didn't really play as hard as they should have, or the guitarist decided to turn their amp up a little bit more, or maybe it's a tube amp, and when it gets a little bit warmer, it starts to project out more volume. Who knows? But there's all kinds of different reasons why people would experience what I just demoed for you guys. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to make an affordable, below $1,000 intro rig into in-ear monitors, because I believe it's something that will help everybody in the context of performing. So here we go. So we're going to break this thing down into about, we'll say 5 components, right? 5 components. And it'll go like this. The first one is going to be your monitor, your in-ear monitor wireless system, okay? That's going to be the system that has the receiver and the transmitter with it, okay? The second piece would probably be your mixer. Why you would want your own mixer is because this is a closed back system. This is a closed system, closed loop system, essentially meaning that you're not relying on their mix coming from the front of the house, meaning that you're plugging your instruments or your inputs into this, and you're the one that's gonna have this already set. So that's why you need a mixer. You don't need an expensive mixer to start out, you just need a mixer. The third thing would be the case. You need to have a good case that's going to give you protection of your gear, that's going to, I would say, if you can afford it, get a flight case or something like that that's just going to really protect your gear, because this is technically going to end up being about $800 to $1,000 when you're finished, which sounds like a lot, but you can get some of this stuff in pieces and maybe even used that may even drop the price down a lot more. Although I wouldn't get used earbuds because that's kind of nasty. The fourth piece of the system is going to be cabling. You need cables. You're going to need XLR cables. You're going to need 1/4-inch cables. You're going to need adapters, splitters. You probably may need some DI boxes, right? But those are things that you're going to need to connect everything together. And it doesn't, the good thing about this is that once you connect it the first time, if you plan right, then you'll be able to handle anything in the future and it won't really be a hassle. You really just cable once and you pretty much are set. Your fifth piece would probably be, if you're a vocalist, it would be your microphone. Or if you're a guitar player, it would be your instrument. So you can look at it like your instrument or your microphone, okay? The reason why that part is important is because this is really gonna be a personal monitor mix for you. You should be doing this focused on yourself, because if you're trying to do it for your band, you're gonna have a lot of competing issues with how they want their mixes to be. It's a lot easier to mix on a mixer, just one mix, when it's this type of a mixer, this level of a mixer, instead of one of those multi-out digital mixers that, you know, basically you cut on and it brings up a preset that you've already configured and things like that. So the core element to your setup is gonna probably be your in-ear monitor system. Now, when I first started, I had a Galaxy Audio AS1100 system, and that system ran me about $400 or so, something around that price, right? And you know, it's a really good system. I mean, not to complain, I mean, it did just about everything I would need for most things. So if I just needed to have a reference that was wireless, that didn't really drop out on me too much, then that system really fit the bill for me. And it was a UHF system, and you can look that up as to what that is. It wasn't a digital system. Now, I did upgrade to a digital system, which is the Shure PSM 300. That system is just the beast. I mean, that literally sounds like the wire, plus it's got EQs and is metal. I mean, and it doesn't drop out. I mean, that system, I could go for days. And I'm gonna do a video also reviewing that because people were asking for that. So I will do a video reviewing the PSM 300. I already have a review of the Galaxy Audio AS1100. You can check that out on my website. So let's talk about the mixer. The mixer that I bought was the Behringer, I believe it's called the Xenix 1202 FX. The reason I bought the 1202 FX from Behringer was because of the price, which at the time it was $99, right? And I think it's still $99. But I've had a few Behringer mixers in the past, and honestly, they've all performed really well. Like for the price, they're just a fantastic value, right? Like I don't believe in paying double or triple for names, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's an analog mixer, but it has a digital processor in it. And what that allowed me to do was that allowed me to put a little bit of wet signal or a little bit of reverb or whatever effect I want, but mainly reverb on my vocal channel, because I'm a vocalist and I'm also a guitar player of my band. So I'm monitoring both of those things. I'm monitoring my guitar, I'm monitoring my vocals, okay? So being able to put some wet on it helps me bring it out, helps me separate it from some of the other dry signals. You know, even when you play guitar, most of the time people use reverb. So the same thing with vocals. You kind of want to saturate that a little bit with some type of time delay, and just to kind of, you know, so that the singer can hear it. You know, that's really what it comes down to. So you get a better representation of what you're singing, and it also helps to establish some space within the mix. I run my mix in stereo. You don't have to do that. And when I say that, I mean that most monitoring systems will accept mono, meaning just one channel, or you can do two unique channels, which would be stereo, and basically have that running like, just to give you a larger, you know, sound field, right? So that way it will sound bigger for you on stage. It won't sound very closeted. It won't sound very tight and very in the middle, you know, which is what I describe mono like if I'm running mono. The case that I decided to get was a Seismic Audio ATA pedalboard case. Now, the reason why I got the ATA pedalboard case was because I wanted something that was going to be very durable if I were to take it on a flight or take it traveling, and just, you know, something that was really strong. I've had a few cases before that weren't ATA grade, and they're pretty flimsy. Like you can push on it and it'll bow a little bit. I didn't want anything like that to happen to this equipment. So I spent a little bit more money. It was only $114. I thought it was a good buy. And honestly, I haven't regretted it at all. I think it's the best case I have. It has the locks on it where you can lock it down and snap it together. I mean, it's just a real secure, really durable, portable case. And I'm able to put Velcro on my gear so that way it stays at the bottom of it. And I pretty much got most of the important things that don't change Velcroed into that case. So that's the other thing I have. I have the case. That's the protection part, right? So I know I talked about the wireless microphone, or maybe your guitar, your instrument being the other part of this puzzle. And it's an important part. So for me, I'm actually running with a Sennheiser 935 wireless microphone set. This is the G3 series, which is one of their newer, I don't know if it's Evolution, but it's one of their newer systems that they have for their wireless transmission. It's a fantastic sounding microphone. It works for me. I had a 945 before, which is a super cardioid pattern. This is a cardioid pattern, and the reason why I got this is because, you know, with it being in-ear monitors, I don't need to necessarily worry about monitor feedback anymore. With the cardioid mics before that I used, I've had issues with feedback coming out of the monitors, right? With this setup, because it's in-ear monitors, it doesn't really matter. So I prefer the presence of feel that I have with this because it's just I think it's a more generous pattern for a vocalist. That way I can sing and I don't have to be right up on it in order to get the sweet spot of the microphone. You know, that's just my preference. So you're gonna have to do some investigation work here and trying to figure out what microphone sounds best for you. For me, it was the 900 series, and I think the 935 sounds great. Now, just to kind of add a little bit more to it, the 945 that I have, I believe sounds better out the box, meaning that I think it's got a little bit of an EQ bump in there. I'll do a demo and we'll see what that sounds like one day. So just to kind of round things down, like I talked about the case, I talked about the mixer, I talked about the in-ear monitor system, and I also talked about the cables and the wireless microphone or guitar or whatever you're gonna have. So I'm gonna kind of break this out into a few videos because this stuff gets kind of deep, and you know, honestly, people are gonna have more and more questions. So this is kind of like an introduction and just kind of saying that all those things I talked about, the Galaxy Audio AS1100, the Behringer Xenix 1202 FX, and the case, which was like $100, you know, that puts you in the game of in-ear monitors for under $1,000 with no problem, right? That's a starter point, right? Now, you have to figure out long term where you want to go, but at least it gets you in the ball game and it gets you away from having issues with monitors. I'm Prodigy Music, man, just giving you guys a little bit of a tip here. Please stay tuned for more videos about this to come. Peace.